Back in the day when arcade games were at the top in terms of quality, it was always up to the developers of the console and computer ports to make a version as faithful as possible. This was easier said than done thanks to the limitations of the hardware, and it wasn't until the 4th console generation that the console specifically really started to represent what was seen in the arcades. The Sega Genesis or Mega Drive was a major console in that generation, and to show how powerful it was, a lot of units came packed in with Altered Beast. Originally released in the arcades in 1988, it was quickly ported to the Genesis and was quite comparable to the arcade version in terms of visual quality. This signified a turning point in the video game industry, where the home versions were finally catching up to their arcade counterparts.
In Altered Beast, you were once a kick-ass Roman centurion, but since you're in premature retirement thanks to death, Zeus brings you back from the dead to save his daughter Anfina from an evil asshat named Neph. The gameplay is primarily beat 'em up, with yourself travelling through 5 levels beating, but more hilariously kicking ancient Greek underlings in order to complete your task. The major mechanic of this game though is to alter yourself into a beast, because it's called Altered Beast. Understand? There is a different beast to change into per level, each with their own abilities and attacks. To turn into one of these, you have to kill a 2-headed blue dog who will release a spirit ball. These don't stick around for long, so if you miss it, there are no upgrades for you. You won't turn into a beast immediately either, as there are a few upgrades in between, which basically just turn you into a bigger version of yourself as a man. You want to be in beast mode by the time you reach the boss at the end of each level too, as you might actually be challenged with no special powers, and we just can't have that. Even though I did actually beat the end boss fight as a mere man, I should add it's because this game is quite easy if you want it to be. If you want more health because you suck at beat 'em ups and the world owes you, then simply press Start plus B at the start screen to access the options menu. Putting aside the weird controller button combo to enter an options screen, there you can give yourself more health and change the difficulty level. On top of that, if you die in a level and have no more lives, then simply push Start plus A on the start screen on returning to it, and the game will put you back in the last level you played. Really though, you don't have to play like this, and honestly I don't recommend it since it makes the game laughably easy, but it's nice if you want to get to know the levels and play it harder the next time around. Having said that though, it's not like this game is really all that hard even when played with few lives and on a higher difficulty setting. For one, all enemies are in the exact same place every time you play, so if you're not like me and have a great memory, then after a few plays you'll be blowing through each short level quite quickly. On top of that, each boss can be seemingly manipulated. Most seem to have a few blind spots where you can just rage on them without much damage to yourself, and this is even easier if you're playing as a beast. If you're into gaining high scores however, once you finish the 5th level the game restarts to the 1st. The score will keep climbing though, and you won't get any new lives, so this means there is potentially a good game here to earn high scores in, since there doesn't seem to be a way to earn new lives. There is a lot of enemies in this game, and they change from level to level. They all seem to have their weaknesses making them easy to kill, but honestly I had a lot of fun simply kicking them. I like the idea of trampling through ancient Greece as frickin' kicking anything that gets in my way, but sometimes you do unfortunately need to punch, as kicking won't do for certain enemies. However fun it is kicking little monsters in the head though, I do recommend using the beast's powers. They do add a fun element to the gameplay, and it makes you really feel awesomely powerful. As easy a game Altered Beast can be, the graphics were considered top of the range at the time. Comparing this version's visuals to the arcade original shows just how close it actually is, and I'm sure this was an amazing thing at the time. Sure, it's not an exact pixel by pixel replica, and it is missing a few features like the fake 3D effect of body parts flying towards you and destroying enemies, but it's pretty damn close and it's good enough for me. I also really love the sound design in this game. The music is great and I did enjoy it, but this is overshadowed by the voice work. It's cheesy, and I love it. Welcome to your doom!
For an arcade game, it's not very arcadey, more like a short, easy action game. Once you get used to all the enemy and boss types and memorize where they are, I think you could potentially play this game within half an hour. This, however, is somewhat saved by the fact that the score continues and that the lives don't increase on the game restarting. There is definitely some potential here to rack up high scores in Altered Beast. Unfortunately for this game though, it was eventually replaced by none other than Sonic the Hedgehog as the go-to packing game with the Sega Genesis. It may not have been the greatest game ever, but it did have its place in history, and for that, I think it should be remembered and respected.
Hey retro gamers, and thank you so much for watching. I've been out and about a bit recently, with myself visiting the first ever retro gaming museum in my home city of Perth. It's called Nostalgia Box, and not only is it the first in Perth, but possibly the first in Australia. I'm not actually sure to be honest. Anyway, if you want to find out more about that, then check out my blog at retrogameon.com. I detailed my experience there, which includes the exhibits as well as an arcade where I finally get to play a Vectrex. It was a magical moment for myself indeed, and if you're in Perth, then I highly recommend you check Nostalgia Box out. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.